Today, we're going to tackle a really big topic, psychosocial safety. I know it can feel incredibly complex, but we're going to cut through all that noise with a super clear 4-level framework that can help make sense of it all. Let's dive in.
So, if you're a work health and safety pro, does this sound familiar? You're constantly putting out fires, right? Managing claims, updating risk registers. It feels like you're stuck on a hamster wheel, always reacting, with zero time to actually get ahead of the problems.
And this quote, man, it just nails it. It really gets to the heart of the issue because it states a fundamental truth. You can have all the wellness apps and pizza parties in the world, but if the day-to-day, minute-to-minute experience of doing the work is poor, you are fighting a battle you just can't win.
And, it's no surprise it feels so overwhelming. Just look at the kind of skill set that's expected of you today. You have to be an expert in organizational psych, leadership theory, behavioral science, and all the nitty-gritty of compliance law. It's a massive, complex space, and honestly, it's easy to feel like you don't even know where to start.
And that feeling creates this vicious cycle. You're so swamped with the urgent reactive stuff, the fires you have to put out right now, that the important proactive work, the strategic thinking that could actually stop the fires from starting in the first place, that just gets pushed down the to-do list day after day.
So how do we break out of that cycle? Well, we do it by grabbing onto this one core principle. Everything, and I mean everything, is downstream from how work is experienced by your people. If you can improve that fundamental experience, so many other problems, turnover, burnout, claims, they all start to solve themselves. It's the ultimate upstream solution.
And the way to do this isn't some single, giant, expensive program. It's not about boiling the ocean. It's about breaking this massive problem down into pieces you can actually manage. It's about getting those small wins that, over time, build on each other and create real, lasting change.
And that's exactly where this framework comes in. It's a 4-level approach that's really designed to give you a path through all that complexity. A clear, structured way to get from the basics all the way to predictive excellence.
Okay, so here's the roadmap at a glance. There are 4 levels. First, you map your systems to reality. Second, you validate what you found through consultation. Third, and this one's huge, you focus on leadership as your most important control. And finally, you get to the future. You learn how to predict. So let's break each of those down.
All right, level 1, mapping the system. This is where you become a bit of a detective. This isn't just about looking at policies sitting in a folder somewhere. It's about diving into the real, messy data of how work gets done, looking at rosters, calendars, sick leave patterns, turnover rates, even meeting transcripts. You're trying to figure out what your organization's risk architecture actually looks like on the ground.
Now, once you have that map from level 1, your consultation in level 2 becomes a superpower. See, you're not just sending out generic surveys anymore, asking vague questions. You're using a mix of tools, smart surveys, one-on-one conversations, 360-degree feedback to validate the specific risks and pressure points you already uncovered. It becomes so much more targeted and way more meaningful.
Okay, this brings us to level 3. And this is where the real magic happens, because it focuses on the single most powerful control you have in your entire organization: leadership. This is where we move from abstract risks on a spreadsheet to real human behaviors.
To really get why this is so important, we need a quick lesson in brain science. At work, every single interaction we have gets filtered by our brain as either a reward or a threat. Positive experiences, like feeling respected or supported, they feel rewarding. But negative ones, they trigger a threat response, leading to chronic stress that literally impairs our judgment and our ability to perform.
And listen, this right here is the part you absolutely cannot miss. Our brains are hardwired to prioritize threats over rewards. It's a survival thing. So you simply can't make up for a toxic manager with a foosball table. It doesn't work. You must reduce the threat first. The negative will always outweigh the positive.
So what does that threat actually look like in the workplace? Well, research from MIT identified what they call the toxic 5 behaviors that just destroy a culture: being disrespectful, non-inclusive, unethical, cutthroat, or abusive. And the antidote? It's building leadership habits around what we call the RISE principles: respect, inclusion, support, and ethics. The whole goal is to systematically stamp out the first list and build up the second.
Now, what's really interesting here is that most leaders don't wake up in the morning wanting to be toxic. They're not villains. A lot of these harmful behaviors just emerge, especially under pressure, when people are rushed and stressed out. And that's exactly why building conscious, positive habits is so critical. Leaders have to understand the shadow they cast.
even when they don't mean to.
And that brings us to the final, most aspirational level, level 4. This is the holy grail, really. This is all about moving beyond reacting, and even beyond being proactive. It's about building a safety system that is truly predictive.
So you might be thinking, how on earth do we do that? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is technology. Research actually shows that a massive chunk, 40 to 50% of the administrative work in health and safety, can be automated. And this isn't about replacing people, it's about freeing them up to do the work that really matters.
I mean, just think about what that means. You can use automation to handle all that time-consuming, low-value grunt work. Things like updating policies, designing basic surveys, and crunching the initial sets of data.
And when you lift that administrative burden off your professional's shoulders, it allows them to focus on what humans do best, using their judgment, finding deep insights in the data, taking meaningful action, and providing that high-level strategic advice. It lets you operate at the absolute top of your game.
So when you put it all together, you can see this entire framework as a journey. It's designed to take you from being trapped in that reactive cycle to becoming proactive by fixing systems and coaching leaders, and finally, to reaching a predictive state where you can see challenges coming and head them off before they ever become problems.
Which really leaves us with one final question for you to think about. When you look at your own organization, is your approach to safety built for the past, constantly looking in the rearview mirror, or are you building a system that's truly designed for the future of work? Thanks for watching.